Okay, back in the room. Let's finish this off. So, yeah, I think this is fine. It zooms in on the picture itself to emphasize that the character is dangerous. I think you should say here special effects are used to animate the photograph in the newspaper. You could even talk about the font being at one or being representing the wizarding world, because it is in that kind of not quite gothic font. You might want to say something about that. Here, the pace of the editing or the length of shots gradually lengthens, rather than saying the changes through each shot. This is if you say the changes through each shot, then you're not using the specialized language you have to, and this is kind of your D grade language, and you need to talk about how the pace of the editing or the length of the shots, rather than this. And you're quite right about it. And you could also say this rather than this. I don't think you need to talk about worm's eye and overheads. They're not. That's not what these are. I mean, although they're slightly, the angles are slightly different. I think what we should be saying here is that the pace of the editing changes to emphasize Harry's focus and to show the audience his fascination and what's the word? His fascination with the character. Okay. This is not technical enough, I mean, I wouldn't talk about Harry obviously knowing Voldemort very well. I would cut this sentence out, I have to say. You could just say, when Voldemort is mentioned, the camera zooms in on Harry's face. And the music during this conversation is slow and eerie. That's good. Should be wary of rather than warned of. Wary, like that. The soundtrack, I would say, rather than the song. Yeah. Yeah, I think you need to talk about special effects again here. Special effects are used to show the bus squeezing between the two red buses. I think before this, you should also say mise en scène, or you should say something about how it is made clear that the bus has now reached the centre of London as Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament appear, or the Palace of Westminster, whatever you want to call it, appear in the background. That's a sort of a key symbol of London that the filmmakers use to tell the audience where the action is at that point. Yeah, and they're going over Lambeth Bridge. Do we see a close-up of the car? Can we describe that as a close-up? No close-up there. I mean, what you could say is that it... Yeah, there's an over-the-shoulder shot There is a shot over Ernie's shoulder as the bus rapidly approaches the car, which gives the audience a sense of the speed the bus is traveling and creates tension that there is going to be an accident. As the bus brakes and Harry is shown hitting the window, it cuts to a side shot. And this change of pace is again for comic effect as the bus gently bumps the car, setting off the car alarm. Okay, something like that. Let's just go back here. Yeah, so you don't need to say in conclusion, but you could say this scene, this sequence represents a strong contrast to the darker opening scene. And is comical. It's comic almost throughout. I wouldn't say a slightly humorous manner. It is comic throughout. Yeah, I mean, here, I think you could say something like Quaron brings the camera, brings the audience's focus to Harry's face again and again, to ask them to empathize with his confusion and puzzlement in each situation that he encounters. Yeah, I don't think Stanley is more powerful throughout the scene, but you might want to put that somewhere in, maybe in here. At the beginning of the sequence, Stanley is shown as superior to Harry, although I don't think you say it's later found out that Harry is much more powerful. I mean, we know that Harry he's the protagonist of all of the films, and he's the chosen one. So you could just say Stan is represented as superior to Harry at the beginning of the scene, which is ironic given that Harry is the central protagonist throughout the whole franchise, something like that. You're right, music is very important. Yeah, I think you can make... I would start with that sentence for this last paragraph, then go on to talk about the irony, and then end with whatever I just said about how Quaron is constantly bringing us back to Harry's face to give the audience, to help them to identify with him, but also to feel his puzzlement and disorientation. Okay, so well done. That's really, I'm really pleased with what you've done there, Dalia. It's very interesting. I think if I just show you, this is the mark scheme here. So I think you're probably around this sort of area. So that's the top level. It's out of 30. And this is the sort of A's, B's. And in level 3, we're round about here for the C's. And I'd say you're around about here. You're probably on a 2021, which is a kind of low C. And what I'd like you to do is start pushing it up here. And I think if you make the changes I've suggested and have a think about the things I've suggested, then you should be able to do that. Okay,